Hey, what's up? Jamie Gerard here, and in this training we are going to be talking about mindset and how important mindset is when we're talking about setting and accomplishing our goals. And to do that, I want to tell you a little bit of my background and sort of how I got started in all of this, which is pretty cool. When I had my son, I had pretty bad postpartum depression, and I was diagnosed with it, and then I started seeing a counselor for it. And I remember there was a time, when I was seeing my counselor while I was still on maternity leave, I was doing okay. And then it was time for me to go back to work. And I remember that first day that I went back to work, it was horrible. That morning I was getting ready, and all I could think of was like, God, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And it was December, so I mean, it was snowing outside, I'm pretty sure. And whenever I walked outside, I went to my car and it was all frosted over, so I turned it on and I was just sitting there, and I could feel my anxiety rising, right? And I could see my breath coming out faster and faster and faster. But I just remember sitting there and having more and more anxiety about going back and trying to think of, how I could get out of it, basically, because I emotionally just wasn't quite ready to go back. And I remember, putting my car into drive and going and driving through town, and just more and more anxiety building up. And then finally I got on the interstate, and I just started playing out scenarios. And I would be like, okay, well, if this happened, then I wouldn't have to go. If this happened, I wouldn't have to go. And I could see those scenarios getting darker and darker and darker. And then finally I was like, well, it's bad weather out. If I got into a car accident, I wouldn't have to go. And then I was like, especially if I was injured, then I could just go to the hospital and maybe just lay in a hospital bed for, I don't know, a few weeks, and maybe get a break. Maybe I'll just crash my car into a wall and get a break. That's the most absurd thing to think, right? Obviously, being in a hospital bed is not a break, but to my mind at that point, on that day, in that situation, that seemed like a logical way out of the situation that I didn't want to be in. Very lucky for me that I had therapy later that day. So I remember going to work and being like, holy shit, that got dark quickly. And it really affected me. I started to kind of panic and think, am I suicidal? Do I want to hurt myself? All of these things. And so later that day I went to therapy, and I went and, God, my therapist she was loony. She was such a weird lady, but she did her job. She was good at it. I remember her office was tiny, and it had floor to ceiling bookshelves, and her chairs were weird. They were really deep, and if you wanted to use an armrest, it was up really high, and they were round, and so there was no real comfortable way to sit in them. And I remember being very, very close to her, and she looked at me and she was like, so how are we doing today? And I was like, I just crumbled and started crying. And I told her I think I'm suicidal. I think I want to hurt myself. And I told her the story, and she's following along, no emotion, just boop-ba-doop-ba-doo. And then finally she says, okay, is that it? And I was like, God, what do you mean? Is that it? I just told you, I thought about hurting myself today. And she was like, okay, so you didn't do it, right? And I was like, well, obviously no, I'm here, I'm telling you about it. And she says, well, we can be grateful that you didn't do it. And she was like, sometimes finding gratitude in the smallest things can be huge. And she was like, something that feels so dark, to find a way to make it positive is one of the most helpful things that you can do for yourself. And then she started talking to me about, lack of control. And she's like, I think that you had this spiraling moment because there's not a lot of things in your life that you can control at this point. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And she said, why don't you pick 3 things in your life that you can do every single day that are 100% in your control? And I was like, okay, what? And she's like, well, I think we should start with gratitude. And she's like, maybe you could find something every single day in your life to be grateful for. And if I hadn't had that situation, if I hadn't sat with her that day, I was in a dark enough place, struggling enough that I don't think I could have come up with something to be grateful for every single day. But because she had shown me how, finding gratitude in the smallest things, in the most unlikely places, how much it can make you feel like you're in control, like you have power, like it was huge for me. So I chose writing in a gratitude journal. I also chose getting sunshine every day, which obviously helped a lot with the depression. It helped a lot with, my mood. And then I also chose intentional movement. So moving my body every single day, whether I wanted to or not, making time to just move my body. I was having a lot of issues with how my body had changed during pregnancy. I had never been overweight. And then in my pregnancy, I gained like 50 pounds, and it really affected me emotionally. And I was having a lot of, issues with self-love and things like that. So I chose to move my body and hopefully start getting back some of that, losing some of the weight and getting back some of that confidence that I used to have. And so the reason that I'm telling you all of this is because I have 3 like very go-to things that I think tie really, really well between mindset and starting a journey to accomplish a goal. And the first one is gratitude. So in the very, very beginning, when you're watching this video, you're thinking, maybe this might be for you. Maybe I want to set a big goal. Maybe I want to start working for it. Be grateful for that. Be grateful that you are here right now. You're watching this video, and be grateful for the fact that you're starting to think about getting better. You're starting to think about improving your life. Just be grateful for the start, because a lot of people don't get this far. Whether or not you run it through the end zone and you get, everything that you've ever hoped and dreamed of, be grateful that you are here today and that you are willing to take a chance and actually start the journey. The second thing is to control what you can. There's going to be a lot of times in this pursuit of achievement that you think to yourself, like, God, all of this is out of my control, and it's not. Think of all the things that you can do in your day that you have complete control over, no matter how small they are. Focus on those. Focusing on controlling those situations and pouring into them positively and pouring into them according to your action plan to make your goal become more attainable, that is going to move you forward in ways you couldn't even imagine. The things that you can't control, don't control them. You can tackle those later. You can brainstorm how to get through on all of those things at a different time. Right now, when you're starting, focus on what you can control. And then the last thing I would say is just give yourself some grace. You've heard my story of ups and downs and, triumphs and failures and, getting lost and coming back. All of these things, there are times when I was working my butt off and I still didn't achieve the goal that I was going for. There are times when I didn't put in hardly any effort at all and I did achieve it. So no matter what path you're on, if you falter, if you start to stumble, give yourself some grace, give yourself a minute to recoup and put the pieces back together before you start in and move forward. Because the fact that you are pivoting, the fact that you are trying to put the pieces together to move forward, means that you are still on the right path. No matter if you failed, no matter if it was a complete swing and a miss, no matter what, if you are still looking for ways to get to the goal that you've set, you're still looking for ways to achieve that goal, you're still on the path. So give yourself some grace and give yourself some time to fumble, because that's what it's going to take to get you all the way there. So just know that this journey isn't going to be perfect, and you may take things that I say and try and implement them, and you're like, that just doesn't work for me. And you may have to tweak things. You may have to try something new, get different advice, whatever it is. You have the power to make the path, right? So don't have to be perfect. You just have to be you. You have to keep your eye on the prize. You have to remember where you're headed. And all of these things, when you're working on your mindset, the gratitude, the, focusing on what you can control and giving yourself some grace, it's going to catapult you forward. And I'm excited for you to see that in your life. There are tons of ways to work on your mindset. You can read books, listen to podcasts, you can watch YouTube videos, you can, journal or meditate or manifest or whatever it is. But I will tell you, these 3 things, being grateful, controlling what you can, and giving yourself some grace, are completely free. You can do these right now, today, with no help, just what I've given you right now. Just implement it and track it, write it down. And I hope that this helps you, and I hope that you're starting to think of what your goal is going to be, and kind of putting the pieces together. Maybe it's something that you already know that you've been dreaming of for a long time. Whatever it is, I'm excited to know about it. If you are interested, you're more than welcome to join our community. We're just a bunch of goal setters who are working toward making our lives better, changing our lives for the better, making our, the lives better for our kids and our spouses and everyone around us, and just trying to be happier, more positive, healthier, all of that. So if that's something that sounds like you would want to be a part of it, please, there's a link below this video. You can click it and you can join our community at any time, all right? We're excited at the thought of having you. So I will see you in the next video, or I will see you on the other side in our community. Have a good day.